prize bundles, which includes a brand new iPhone 16, £500 in shopping vouchers to spend in your favourite store, and an incredible £10,000 in tax-free cash to spend however you like. What would you spend that cash on? For another chance to win, text cash to 63232. One entry costs £2 plus one standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63232. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start from just £2. Call 0903 681 3232. Calls cost £2 plus your network access charge, or post your name and number to GB11 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 6 p.m. on the 7th of March. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Join me, Camilla Tominey, for a frank and honest discussion with those in power that cuts through the spin and gets to the heart of the issues shaping our nation.
You haven't confirmed that you want to stand as leader, but you haven't ruled it out either.
This report basically says that he's not fit to stand trial. Is he indecisive? Incompetent?
I deliver the dose of reality Westminster needs. That's the Camilla Tominey Show at 9:30 every Sunday on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akwir, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more.
Whether it's breaking royal news,
Will, please bring us up to date.
or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
This is Britain's Newsroom, where your voice matters.
It's just astonishing. With expert analysis and honest opinion, we don't just keep you informed.
We bring you unique perspectives you won't see anywhere else.
Can't argue with any of that. When the news happens, it happens here.
On Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 a.m.
Only on GB News.
Hello, it's 11 o'clock, which means it's time for tomorrow's newspapers tonight. Join us over the next hour for stories including left-wingers insist that mass immigration is hugely enriching, so why have Labour placed so many migrants in a Tory village that they now outnumber the local population? And when will we know the Southport killer's internet browsing history? It looked like it might take years to uncover, but now the FBI are on it. Will it contain some awkward truths for Keir Starmer? And are the Taliban going woke? Apparently, they now have a feminist wing, which has triggered a schism in everyone's favourite Islamocracy by demanding women's rights in Afghanistan. I'm Leo Kearson. Tonight, I'm joined by Simon Evans and Kerry Marks to take you through Sunday's top stories. There they are, ready to go. This is Headliners. But before tomorrow's news, let's go to tonight's headlines with Aaron Armstrong.
Hello, very good evening to you. Our top stories. Sir Keir Starmer, the Prime Minister, says he is ready and willing to put UK troops on the ground in Ukraine to help guarantee its security. Sir Keir Starmer will attend an emergency summit in Paris tomorrow as European leaders attempt to retake the initiative over those peace talks. Well, the meeting will be hosted by the French President Emmanuel Macron, who's determined the UK be closely involved in all future discussions about Ukraine. It comes amid growing concern over US efforts to agree a deal with Russia to end the war, which European governments fear will damage security on the continent. Meanwhile, President Trump has sent two of his closest foreign policy advisors to Saudi Arabia for talks with Russia, which will also be attended by US Secretary of State Marco Rubio. Neither Ukraine nor Europe have been invited, but Donald Trump says he wants President Zelensky to be involved and says he could meet with Vladimir Putin very soon.
I think he wants to stop. That was my question to him, because if he's going to go on, that would have been a big problem for us. And that would have caused me a big problem, because you just can't let that happen. I think he wants to end it, and they want to end it fast. Both of them. And Zelensky wants to end it too.
The government says the NHS is on the road to recovery after meeting a key election pledge. New NHS figures show an extra 2 million appointments were delivered in England during Labour's first 5 months in office. The additional appointments delivered in part by extra evening and weekend working, and it follows figures last week showing total waiting lists fell in December for the fourth month in a row. Sir Keir Starmer says he knows the job isn't done and has promised further reforms to deliver faster treatment. And the Brutalist and the papal drama Conclave were the big winners at the BAFTAs with 4 awards each. Conclave got the Best Film Award, although Ralph Fiennes missed out on the Best Actor. That went to Adrian Brody for his role in The Brutalist. His fellow American, Mikey Madison, won the Best Actress category for her role in Anora, about a sex worker who falls for a Russian oligarch. She pipped Demi Moore and Cynthia Erivo, amongst others. The Star Wars actor Warwick Davis was honoured with the BAFTA Fellowship for an outstanding and exceptional contribution to the screen. And the team behind Wallace and Gromit picked up 2 gongs for their most recent animation, Vengeance Most Foul. And that is it for the moment. Now it's over to Headliners.
For the very latest GB News direct to your smartphone, sign up to News Alerts by scanning the QR code or go to gbnews.com/alerts.
Thank you, Aaron, and hello and welcome to Headliners, your first look at the best of tomorrow's newspapers with the best of today's comedians. First things first, let's see what we have on the front pages. The Sun leads with prawn crackers. That's a story about Putin's dithering over spending on defence, while we blow billions on prawn farms in Bangladesh, apparently. The Telegraph has Starmer, I'm ready to put troops in Ukraine. The Independent has house building plan by Labour unachievable. And I think that's going to be unachievable by a huge margin. More front pages in a moment, but first, Simon, what do you make of this story in the front of the Sun?
The prawn crackers, Leo, yes. The Sun have used the emblematic little sea bug of insanity. He's obviously he's understood to be an avatar for nonsensical overspending. Yeah. I have no idea what the validity is of the particular claim about the shrimp farms in Bangladesh, but the point they're making is that Starmer is confronting yet another black hole in his budget. Yeah. He has, of course, over the last few days, as no doubt you've covered or Josh's regime has covered during the week, the speech by J.D. Vance in Munich has put the wind up Europe's military elite. They've realised that they've been winding down their own defence capabilities, assuming that America would always have their backs. And things are changing. Some people are saying it's the end of the long 20th century. Yeah. And so Starmer is confronting the possibility that he doesn't have sufficient men, doesn't have sufficient armaments, or whether it be weapons or munitions, so we're wondering where the money's going to come from, especially if he is intending, as it seems, to commit possibly to putting British boots on the ground in Ukraine. Yeah, absolutely. And, for all that people say that Trump is abandoning Ukraine, abandoning Europe, Kerry, I don't think Trump would be abandoning Europe if Europe didn't abandon itself. Like, Europe is woefully underfunded and undermanned and under-supported Ukraine and its own, military capability. And this article, this front page in The Sun, makes the point quite well, I think, that
we're through foreign aid, we're spending like £15 billion on foreign aid each year, going to, you know, whatever it is, drag queens in Ecuador. And, you know, I mean, it's great that they're getting...
But I think that's important to the public. You know? I think they need that. And I think a lot of the public, they're aware that security is an issue, but shrimp farms in Bangladesh make us feel good, I guess, and so we need to...
Well, shrimp farms in Bangladesh, we mock, but you never know what possible, you know, armament or technology might emerge.
Totally.
It's like the rainforest and cancer.
Absolutely.
You know?
Absolutely. It's worth investing in.
Look what we got from
There's a shrimp that could explode itself, isn't there?
Look what we got from Wuhan.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Well, they're reckoning that if we go up to the 2.5% spending on military budget, which Trump is suggesting we do, and that would cost an extra $9 billion a year, which is what we splashed out on the unions at the very beginning of the year.
Yeah.
So, you know, in one go we could cover that.
And we could kill two birds with one stone if we sent the unions to the front line in Ukraine. I think that would help our industries run more smoothly and
put the train drivers there.
Yeah.
Okay,
there used to be an argument, and I had some kind of time for it. There used to be an argument that foreign aid budgets were quite useful for at least two reasons. Soft power obviously expanded the idea of the British being great and good and charitable and having, you know, having an extra margin of capacity to do so, but also making the world more livable for people so they didn't all jump in dinghies and try and get over the ferry lines. Well, that doesn't seem to be working anymore, does it? In fact, if anything, I think it's giving people the wrong idea. Oh, Britain is funding this prawn factory. Britain, there might be a nice place to go and live, you know. So, I don't know, maybe they can cook up a really hot fowl.
But it really feels like, you know, Russia-Ukraine should have been a wake-up call, and now with Trump in and the points that he, you know, the stance he's making to withdraw and to say to Europe, and we're hearing from J.D. Vance, is this is a wake-up shout, really. It's what we should have been doing for a long time now.
Yeah.
We had a proud military at one point.
Yeah,
and now
we used to run the world.
Shameful remains of what once was.
We had the biggest empire in the world, and, you know, so did a lot of other countries in Europe.
Yes.
So, you know, I'm sure if we all got together, we could do something great again. And Europe is spending so much money on net zero. They've committed €1 trillion to net zero and only $50 billion to helping Ukraine. I think if we flip those numbers, we'd see some pretty serious
we're looking at $9 billion
change.
a year for Chagos Islands at the moment as well, which is another one we could do without and put the money somewhere else. But for a long time, it's felt like you know, Britain's become this kind of prison bitch holding America's outturned pocket. Yeah. And it's an embarrassing position for this country to be in, really.
Absolutely. Moving on to the Daily Telegraph, Kerry. What have they got in the cover?
Well, we have more of that story, which we can do more on if you like. There's Lord Hermer, who helped to... he was supposed to defend it, or he did defend an Islamic terrorist who he said there's no point in having the case, and the same guy was later found guilty in a US court. Meanwhile, Hermer won't declare his financial interest. His name is coming up a lot with all kinds of dodgy court cases now. I don't want to say too much on it, because I think we're going to be hearing more and more about it.
Well, yeah, Simon, I mean, I guess the rule is that, you know, everybody deserves a defence, even if you're a terrorist or whatever. But Hermer does seem to only have clients that commit.
Yes.
There's quite a few of this kind. Kelvin Mackenzie, a friend of the channel, of course, went into some detail on this on X the other day and pointed out that although the cab rank defence does crop up a lot, you know, well, I was given the case, what can I do? Hermer has been a very senior case. These people do actually have a certain amount of elbow room. They can pick and choose to some extent. And absolutely, yes, in a similar way to the chap who was, can't remember his name, who's been responsible for getting off quite a few of the other sort of more despicable individuals, or making sure that Facebook posters and so on serve the full 3 years.
Yeah. Despicable Lawyers Brothers. Go and see them. We have other stories here with people being warned not to go to Iran, where you're best not to have blonde hair and blue eyes, in a complete reversal of Nazism. It's surprising that the British people need that warning, really, after... like, where have they been? And I suppose if they've been in universities, they've been hearing that Iran and Houthis and Hamas and Hezbollah are the safest place in the world right now. So this will come as a shock to them. We're also hearing that the NHS is trying to set new diversity standards to win prizes on diversity. Right. If you've been to any hospital, you might notice there's a fair bit of diversity going on there.
Yeah,
really.
I think they've reached those quotas, to be honest.
Yes, totally, a long time ago. And I don't know how Simon feels on it, but I don't...
What's that?
I thought
I'm
you were
quite
about
happy.
to say something and I was interrupting you. But,
I was just looking on NHS, Steve Barclay saying the NHS should have a relentless focus on developing a meritocracy. Good luck with that. I don't know how many that would leave standing.
If only their goal was to develop a bureaucracy, then I think they'd be flying. They've also got this story about the Quran burning charge akin to a blasphemy charge. So Britain risks creating a new blasphemy law by the back door by charging a man over the burning of the Quran.
Yes, we have to be very careful with the particular case because it is currently sub judice, but as a general principle, it does seem... It's extraordinary, isn't it? There have been a couple of these people doing this recently, I presume, in order to defy the general trend, that we've seen around Europe of people being punished, being attacked.
Yeah.
It's going to escalate very nastily. I don't know. I don't see a good outcome for this at the moment.
Well, at the moment, the Islamists seem to be taking the approach of if they can kill everybody who burns a Quran, then the problem will be dealt with, and nobody in the West will do that. But then, of course, it means we're actually living under Islamic laws.
I genuinely cannot work out whether there is any coordination between Quran burners and Quran burner stabbers.
Yeah.
Whether there's is it like the Twitter network for bird watchers? There's one on the A30.
I wonder why
they seem to crop up pretty quickly.
I'm going to say the blasphemy laws never include my group, the atheists. I believe in nothing. There is nothing. There is no heaven, no hell, no God. And when I see someone damaging a blank sheet of paper, I'm offended. Leave nothing alone. People scribbling and so on. That's my sacred nothingness.
It's usually a book by Carl Sagan. It used to be, was the pub, wasn't it? Yeah.
Well, moving on to see some more. Oh no, we've got the Independent to do in this section as well, Simon.
Yes, a house building plan by Labour unachievable, as you prompted in the summary that you began the programme with. It's not going to be possible. Certainly within the next 5 years, which is what they've promised, to build 1.5 million homes, because they do not have the construction workers. They do not have the people trained up. And I think it is fair to say that however much certain jobs are being trimmed away by AI, building a house is probably some way off the 3D printer being able to... So, I mean, of course, a lot of people suspect, with some justification, that this problem will be solved by importing a lot of house builders from other countries.
Where are they going to live?
Who then have to build houses. So that will be that, and then they will move on to the next stage. But yeah, I mean, funnily enough, although she hasn't had a particularly successful time, I don't think, holding this government to account, this was one of Kemi Badenoch's finest moments, when she absolutely railed against Angela Rayner's optimism, her callow optimism, that they could do this. She said that you will encounter exactly, and we've all been there, she said. The last few governments have all promised to build more houses. Of course, the irony is that it's the culture of the planning regulations and so on, rather than actual investment. If you just get out of the way and let people build, they will build.
But then, do we really want our cities to be an endless sprawl of shantytowns?
No, but you could pick a county like Lincolnshire.
I thought we'd already picked Birmingham.
I like that Angela Rayner saying there's no excuse not to meet the targets, but it's up to her to meet the targets. So, who is she saying there's no excuse from herself? And there seems to be some excuse when the actual construction industry, which should be the experts on the matter, say no, it's impossible. Which is massive as excuses go, isn't it?
I don't want to be particularly critical or disparaging, but I would imagine you could probably train most people up to work in that industry.
Yeah.
It's not like AI or like Bitcoin, or I don't know what, some example of some very highly technical, where we're just going to have to import some Koreans. I think we could probably do this.
Yeah, I think there's guys in Britain who can actually lay some bricks.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think it could happen.
Yeah,
I believe in hope.
wheelbarrows.
Anyway, let's have a look at some more front pages The Guardian has. Talks lay bare transatlantic rift over war in Ukraine. The Metro leads with Putin's war of fire and ice. And the Daily Star has Here Comes the Sun. Hopefully that means it's getting warmer. Let's have a look at The Guardian, Kerry.
Kristen McAnear, I think that's how you pronounce it, McAnear, the General Secretary of Unison, which is 9 churches of England. They're basically, I'll read the headline first. The Union ally of Prime Minister opposes refugee citizenship bar. Basically, I think their stance is open the floodgates and bring in everyone. I liked it when the church were more forceful and intolerant,
Yeah.
in the old days.
You
when they
remember
had a
those guys with the
reputation
big
when we
red
knew what they
crosses?
were. And now they're this is an interfaith group who just have a great deal of faith in how big this country is and how many people we can put in it.
And also, so they say if you've made a dangerous sea journey, that should be enough. That's it, basically. That's the argument. People have made a dangerous journey.
Yes. If you've run the gauntlet and got into the country, then you get in.
Making dangerous journeys used to be advised against.
And also, if I make a dangerous journey to a church, does that mean I can live in the church? Is that what they're saying?
I run across 6 lanes of traffic on the M25. Do I get to live in the house on the other side?
And the logic here seems to be, they seem to have got it back to front, because they say refusing citizenship to refugees could breed division and distrust and could fuel attacks on migrant hotels. Surely allowing the country to be flooded with infinite numbers of refugees, as they say is acceptable, surely that's going to lead to social division and distrust and attacks on migrant hotels as, the social cohesion falls apart.
You cannot. I mean, you can make the case that people are individually responsible for attacking a migrant hotel, but as a phenomenon, we know how it works out. You know what the mechanics are, what the dynamics are. I like the idea she says it will make them second-class citizens. No, they're not to be citizens at all. I don't want them to be second-class citizens. I want them to go.
And just for balance, I want them to stay, but they've all got to be in Carol Vorderman's bathroom. The front page is done and dusted. Join us in the next section for migrants outnumbering British people. Starmer's army won't be getting money, and when will we see Axel Rudikabana's browsing history? This is Headliners, only on GB News.
In the GB newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
GB News Breakfast, every day from 6 a.m.
Newly released MI5 files reveal that Queen Elizabeth II was kept in the dark over the treachery of a senior courtier.
Yeah, for almost a decade. This is Sir Anthony Blunt, who played a double life, passing intelligence, the KGB, during World War II as a senior MI5 officer. But, remarkably, he was allowed to keep his position amid fears of a major scandal if the truth came out.
Well, now those files have been released by the National Archives, which includes the Queen's response to finding out a trusted member like Anthony Blunt was really a traitor.
Well, joining us now in the studio is GB News royal correspondent Cameron Walker. Good to see you this morning, Cameron. This is astonishing.
Oh, absolutely. And this wasn't a little spy. This was Anthony Blunt was a full-blown spy. He passed to the Soviets the D-Day deception plans during the Second World War. He was working for MI5, but a double agent for the KGB as well.
The wrong plans.
He passed on the plans.
The wrong ones.
The wrong one in 1944. Yeah. Exactly. But he then got a job inside Buckingham Palace as one of the Queen's most trusted aides and courtiers, the surveyor of her art, essentially like kind of an art advisor for her late Majesty. There was always suspicions about Anthony Blunt way back in the early 50s because he was part of this notorious Cambridge spy ring, a group of 5 boys recruited at Cambridge. 2 of these people fled to Moscow in 1951. Anthony stayed behind in London and subsequently got a job inside Buckingham Palace, and it wasn't until 1964 that he confessed to his treachery. The reason he confessed was because he was granted immunity.
GB News, the People's Channel.
We're proud to be GB News, the People's Channel. And as you know, we always love to hear your views. Now, there's a new way of getting in touch with us at gbnews.com/yoursay. By commenting, you can be part of a live conversation and join our GB News community. You can even talk to me, Bev Turner, or any of the members of the GB News family.
If you want your news to be straight talking...
This is a nightmare for the Conservatives again.
Down to earth.
It's not just Nottingham where this is happening, is it?
And most importantly, honest.
Hard-working, middle-class taxpayers, they'll get their book thrown at them.
Then catch me, Martin Daubney, Monday to Friday, 3 till 6 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Headliners, and let's go to gbnews.com, your say, to see your comments. And Shane has said Putin is taking advantage of the fact that Islamic extremists are invading the West en masse. Trump is trying to get Europe to do its part and not just expect America to protect us. And that's a fair point. Putin has weaponised mass immigration with his invasion into Syria and busing and flying migrants en masse to Belarus to go over the border into Poland. So he's using it as a weapon against us. We should wake up to it. We've got the Express now, and we all know that mass immigration is hugely enriching and our greatest strength. But what happens when a town gets too rich and too strong, Kiri?
Yes, can I just say before getting into this, I'm not winking at you, and I do have a bit of a black eye, which I don't know whether it's coming up or not, but...
Lover's tiff.
Free Speech Nation, I helped sit the audience down and then said, oh, that went really well, and walked straight into the camera. So there's probably a video of me somewhere getting closer to the...
So we do slapstick as well.
Yes, yes, I am capable of that. So the headline, asylum seekers to outnumber locals in pretty English village that's not quite so pretty anymore because, amongst other things, asylum seekers seem to be pooing everywhere because there's a number of reports of them they might be seeking asylum, but they're not really seeking toilets in the way they could be. And this is a small town called Wethersfield, which now is looking like it's going to have more asylum seekers than people in it. And this is going to be an amazing sitcom waiting to happen, by the way. But it's miserable for the asylum seekers anyway. They're in these overcrowded bases everywhere. And it's miserable for the local population who can't sell their houses anymore. And there's various stories of people being attacked, someone jumping on their car and so on. It doesn't really make much sense how we're an island. How is this even possible that we cannot have any control over this? When you think back to the Slavery Act in the 19th century, and we policed the Atlantic Ocean, the Caribbean Sea, the Gulf of India, the Indian Ocean, and now we can't even police the route from Calais. What's going on?
That's a really fair point.
Yes, so this is just one town. I mean, obviously, there's loads of other... This is just an example of what's going on across the country, and it's more the fact that they have no choice over it. So suddenly they're in a position where they're afraid to go out of the house. You get a man here talking about how he doesn't like leaving his wife in the house alone because he's scared. So, I don't see...
his wife.
I don't see how
this is in a Tory constituency. I think it's James Cleverly's constituency, and we're seeing this with Operation Scatter, which is the Labour scheme to move migrants out of cities and out of the previous areas that they put migrants and move them into, essentially move them to Tory constituencies to tilt the electoral arithmetic once these guys get IDs and get registered to vote.
Well, I don't know about that. That's possible, but that's second or third order effect down the line. I don't think these people are particularly worried about them taking our votes. But,
but
there is something horrifically ironic about them being moved into an ex-RAF airfield, something that was built specifically to defend the country in our greatest need, but is absolutely defenceless when it's approached at walking pace by the needy and the underfed and the helpless looking. It's an exposure of I suppose, a weakness which has always perhaps existed in advanced societies, that they will confront violence, but they will not confront. It's like what time is it, Mr. Wolf?
And also they're not always the sort of the malnourished and the poor and the needy. The people who make it all the way to Britain are usually the best resource. Like my mate Mo, he's from Somalia, and he's from a well-to-do family, like relatively, and he says the ones who make it here are essentially, the Somalian version of like posh kids.
But it's also men. When did we go from there's a war zone, we have to get the women and children and the vulnerable out, to let's just get the men out? Let's take in the men. What's happened? That's
it does sound hideous, though, and it's no laughing matter if you live in Wethersfield and you are now unable to sell your house. There are properties there. There are people who are not wanting to move out specifically because of this problem, but they are now at that time of life where they want to downsize. They've raised their kids. They're ready to sell their house. Nobody wants to move there. Because why would you if over 800 asylum seekers against a population of 700?
Well, why aren't there Labour voters? Why aren't there lefties queuing up? Why isn't Gary Lineker queuing up to move to Wethersfield and live amongst the people who he advocates for coming to the UK.
There's all those well-known videos. I mean, I'm sure they're a little bit selective, but nevertheless, the videos of protests for we've got to take in more asylum seekers, and someone says, "Will you take some into your house?" And of course, everyone's like, "Well, not my house, but I think other people should."
How about this Tory constituency?
Yes.
Go into their houses.
I will just also say, if you live near a currently unoccupied RAF base, you know what to do.
Sell your house quick. Well, we've got The Guardian now, and the FBI are helping to uncover the Southport killer's internet history. It's probably just stuff about Welsh Christian choirs, Simon?
Yes, absolutely. It's his main reported interest. This is classic Hollywood stuff, isn't it? FBI assisting the UK investigation into Southport killer Axel Rudakubana. The FBI turning up on a crime scene, even in America, generally creates tensions in Hollywood movies. This is going to be like Mississippi Burning, except the British police haven't been racist enough. That's going to be the problem. But, yeah, I think it's interesting that they are absolutely persuaded that if they can just identify what he was watching on the internet 5 minutes before he went down, and then eliminate that will solve the problem. These people are living in cloud cuckoo land. This bloke was a wrong for years. He was known to the authorities. The idea that his recent internet history will provide you with the clues. Yes, possibly he saw an advert. He became aware that a Taylor Swift dance class was happening nearby. I mean, that's not addressing the issue any more than creating round-ended carving knives is.
Yeah, but I mean, I think it might, because there's been a lot of speculation as to what his motive could have been. You know, people initially assumed that he was an Islamist, and while he has looked at, you know, Islamist materials and had an illegal, you know, he's charged with a terror offence for having a Al-Qaeda training manual, he also seems to be motivated. He said Britain deserves a white genocide. He read a lot of, you know, material on colonial atrocities. So he seems to be motivated by a sort of revenge against white people, revenge against Britain, revenge against empire, which is actually a sort of that's an ideology that's propagated out by the mainstream left wing. You know, every university, the church, everything talks about decolonisation and abolishing whiteness.
Sure, but at the same time, we don't know. Why did he get rid of his internet history when there's no reason to? If that's all that he's been looking at, and the question still remains of whether it was completely his own idea or whether there was someone that groomed him into it or gave him ideas and so on, which is what they're looking for. But what's interesting about this is what methods does the FBI have to look into internet history that we don't know? Why are we outsourcing this intelligence thing to the internet?
It's because it's held in the servers in America, apparently. So it's Microsoft and Google. Yeah, but that's what they're saying here. But what I don't understand is we've got firms, I mean, BAE Systems. I used to work for their intelligence wing, and they can do forensic analysis on a hard drive and find out, you know, you delete your internet browsing history, it doesn't go. Everything, all the information is still there.
That's what I thought, because this is great news for criminals, isn't it? I thought if you raise your internet history, then it's all instantly, you know, returnable.
Just stops your wife reading it.
It just stops Is that all it's for?
That's
just the immediate relatives and so on. But I thought it was all recoverable straight away. I didn't know it had to go through all this systems.
I was surprised to see this as well. It's almost as if, you know, maybe the establishment doesn't want to find it.
But the question, I suppose, or at least a question is, if they do determine what maybe radicalised him or flip the switch on that particular occasion, are they going to say we should make sure that this sort of stuff no longer appears on the internet? Are we going to say that people who have been looking at this kind of stuff should get a visit from the police? How do you use that information? There has been a tendency over the last few years for government and so on to try and use these opportunities to squash social media, to try and eliminate any kind of exchange of ideas that are completely legitimate. I, for one, think it is legitimate to discuss, you know, post-colonial actions and protests and so on. I wouldn't want to see that stuff eliminated just because there's a few. The point of the police and monitoring and prevent and so on is to try and identify people who have demonstrated that they are likely to do something horrific off the back of this rather than just go on a march. And they had that information already.
No, absolutely. Well, that's it for this section. Join us in a moment for a crisis in the Taliban as they discover women's rights, and Muslim MP supporting Christian prayer, and MAGA reacts to Elon Musk's latest baby. This is Headliners only on GB News.
Good evening. Welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. It is going to be largely dry on Monday. Still chilly out there, but it will be turning milder as we head midweek. So taking a look at the bigger picture then, we're still in this battleground with higher pressure to the east, low pressure towards the west, driving some south and southeasterly winds. But through this evening and overnight, we have a band of rain across Northern Ireland that will move its way north and eastwards, so affecting parts of western Scotland and southern Scotland later to bring the risk of some hill snow. Elsewhere across much of England and Wales, largely dry, often cloudy, but there will be some clear spells, and that's where we could see a touch of frost developing to start Monday morning. But to start Monday morning across much of Scotland, actually it is a largely dry start out there. We'll even see some sunshine across northern parts of Scotland to start the day, but across Orkney there are some showers moving through. Out towards the west, that's where we have some showery outbreaks of rain that could turn wintry over the hills. Across Northern Ireland, cloudy to start the day, and across much of England and Wales, but there are some brighter breaks developing, especially across the south-east of England through Monday morning. So as we head through the day then, we should see some glimmers of sunshine coming into southeastern parts of England through the day, often cloudy out towards the west, with still a feed of showers across parts of Orkney before more persistent rain comes into Northern Ireland later on in the day. Otherwise, it is still chilly out there, especially in the east underneath the cloud, but out towards the west, temperatures up to 8 or 10 degrees. So through Tuesday morning, this band of rain will continue to push its way north and eastwards across Scotland, could fall as freezing rain and snow, so do take care first thing. That then clears its way through, and across much of England and Wales, it's largely dry and fine. Wednesday, we'll see some outbreaks of rain, but on Thursday, temperatures will be climbing up to 13 to even 15 degrees. Bye-bye.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it? Because the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
It's Patrick Christie's Tonight, and here we do things differently. It's explaining the absolute madness of this, doesn't it? It's explosive. I mean, this is very good. It's lively.
850. Your government sat there, Sean, and it did nothing.
It's controversial. And the Middle East has been in turmoil since before I was born. It's everything you need to kickstart your evening. Everyone's had their Weetabix tonight. I love to see it. That's Patrick Christie's Tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Headliners. We've got a couple of comments from gbnews.com/yoursay. Eileen Dowdswell says, Headliners tonight is such a happy event. I'm really enjoying the show. Thank you, Leo, Simon and Carey. Thank you, Eileen. I didn't think they were particularly uplifting topics, but there you go. And John Poulter says they're moving the illegal immigrants out all over the country. This is a callous degrading and poisoning of all our villages and small towns. I mean, strong words there, but certainly, you know, when they're moving people to places that haven't asked for it in huge numbers, that's going to have a huge impact on social cohesion.
They're eating the dogs.
Yeah. Well, yeah, they are. In America. Don't know if they are here. Our dogs aren't as delicious. We've got the Telegraph now taking us to Afghanistan, where there's an internal revolt by the feminist wing of the Taliban, Kerry.
I'm not sure whether that's quite what it is, but yeah, the headline is Taliban in crisis as leadership splits over women's rights. So, of course, the Taliban came in Talibaning everything, and the poor Taliban discovered leadership's not quite as easy as they thought it was going to be. And so there's this split in the Taliban, which is on the one side it's we should continue being backwards, and on the other side it's maybe we should be not quite as backwards. So and they said okay, it revolves around Akhundzada, would you say? Who
I've used
led
that
the Taliban.
spell.
It's close enough. He's now Afghanistan's de facto leader. He's head of de facto-ness, whatever that means. And still in the country, they changed so many things. Women can't see a doctor. There's no female doctors. Breast cancer doesn't even exist in Afghanistan anymore, as far as they're concerned. But the issue has come up over schools, and some of the people who are objecting have had to leave the country over this. The odd part here is this sentence. During the time of the Prophet Muhammad, the doors of knowledge were open for both men and women. And that's an argument saying that the reason why they should be progressive is because they were a bit more progressive 1,400 years ago. It doesn't seem to me be particularly as we see progressiveness, you know, on this side of the world. So.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I guess this is progress of sorts, Simon.
Yes, I mean, it's interesting, isn't it, with the Taliban, where you feel their entire raison d'etre, really, is to deny women access to education.
Yeah.
It's surprising to find that there's a significant wing within the party who feel hard done by on that. You would think if they were supporting there, but perhaps it was the only route to power initially. It is quite promising, isn't it? I mean, we all know that it's one of these facts that's brought up by tiresome left-wing progressives, is the extent to which Islam itself safeguarded the traditions and the wisdom and the insights of the ancient Greeks, what was known as antiquity, and until it was time for the Renaissance to welcome it back into Europe. So there have been, over the last 1,400 years, times in which Islam has been all about education, studying not just the words of Allah, but generally, you know, understanding the world. Some extraordinarily significant philosophers.
Well, I hope the Muslim Council is watching and they put that in their next report.
I would like to see them go back to that way.
Islam with algebra and everything, yes, and arts and so on, and it's all been lost into this modern. We've moved into this modern era, but you know, it's a start, and you can't, to be honest, you can't take women's rights from absolute zero to a kind of Western level overnight, because then if they have that much freedom, their anger you're going to hear.
Did you see Rory Stewart's wife, her charity, or one that she's been working for, I think it's called the Turquoise Mountain or something?
Right.
They were the people who were trying to teach the Muslim women in Afghanistan on a famous video clip all about Marcel Duchamp's urinal, the fountain, the one that he signed and said, this is now art. There was a famous clip of them. So, this was all part of the USAID, you know, had their So she was part of that ridiculous programme to try and bypass 700 years of gradual education and take them straight to the point at which some French, deconstructionist or whatever.
You've surely got to show the construct before you show the deconstruct. You know,
you've got to have a few sessions with Constable, haven't you?
No. One drip at a time.
Ridiculous. Well, we're continuing with the kudos for the Muslim world with the Mail now, with a Muslim MP defending Christian prayer in the House of Commons. Probably because he knows that if Labour were allowed to scrap it, they'd replace it with a pride parade, Simon.
Yes, good point. It is quite intriguing, isn't it? You get these stories every so often, a little bit like the Syrian knife attack, who was thwarted by another Syrian in a van, and there are some people who try and push that one up. A Muslim in the House of Commons believes that Christians should be allowed to say their prayers. This is not... what's the word? It's not enforced, this prayer. It's not like assembly where you have to have a note from your mum if you're not to attend, like Richard Wiseman had in our school and was despised as a result because he got off singing hymns in the assembly. But I mean, it seems that some members of Parliament like to go in and have a private prayer before the death. Doesn't seem to do any harm. And it does sound as if... for no other reason than that he has a degree of empathy, a degree of cross-party or ecumenical empathy. This individual has stood up for them, this Leicester South Muslim MP. So I think it's probably best to take him at his word until time proves otherwise.
Yeah, absolutely. This is Shaukat Adam, who I believe is one of the independents who got in on the issue of Gaza. And I guess we'll see, you know, as the Muslim population grows. I think it almost doubled in the last 10 years. So as it grows in the UK, we'll see more, you know, Muslim MPs. We'll see political Islam growing in the UK. But it does show that, you know, there's also some I think we focus on the negatives, but here he is, you know, sticking up for the traditions of...
Yeah, I've got mixed feelings on it, because I don't think it does matter that much. As I say, I'm an atheist, it doesn't really bother me either way, and I do remember...
Yeah, but you're a Christian, you're a Christian atheist.
I'm a Jewish-born, Jewish, but not by belief system, so... But I remember in school doing... How did he get off... Wiseman got off doing...
Richard Wiseman,
I didn't. I was told off for not believing in Jesus and singing along and so on. So,
quite right.
Is that right? I don't know. We're still arguably a Christian country, and I think that actually there's certain things I really like about the C of E, because in the same way as with the monarchy, with a weakened monarchy, I think there's a tremendous importance to that level of power and the effect it has on a country. And in the same way, I think, you know, we still still have bishops in the Lords. That's probably going to go soon.
Yeah.
I hope so, actually.
I do
because
as
they
well.
are
I
a
don't think there's a
tiresome
place
bunch.
for it.
Yeah, I would rather. They're a tiresome bunch.
Yeah.
I would rather see football referees automatically elevated to the upper house.
I know. I think there's some ceremony I kind of like having, even if it's all a bit pointless and so on. But at the same time, I don't think we really need that.
And the trouble with these, and this chap is speaking up for people of another faith. But the one thing you've got to avoid is the multi-faith prayer facility, because they are the single most dismal spaces in the world.
We know which faith they're there for. Let's not pretend. Let's fit this one in before we go to the break. We've got the Daily Mail now, and a BBC drama has been criticised for a transgender dementia storyline. It's not a trans character with dementia wondering where their genitals are.
That was a great sketch.
The BBC has been accused of using an elderly character's dementia to boost its woke transgender agenda in its school drama. Now, the drama is called Waterloo Road, and basically it's the character discovers that her grandmother, who's got dementia, doesn't remember that she's a girl now, and therefore has been, is it called dead naming or something?
Yeah.
Is that the correct term now? And she can't. She can't forgive her grandmother for having dementia, or rather she can, as long as her grandmother is still woke enough. The next week's one is where Gran goes into a coma and doesn't name her at all, and she's deeply offended. So yeah, I think they got completely the wrong end of the stick.
You make that as a joke, but that virtually is the plot. Her grandmother dies, and she is left with this unresolved dead naming incident.
Yes.
That's the main thing she takes away.
I met a woman recently who was she was saying that her grandmother misgendered her, and how the family are going to divorce the grandmother. I don't understand this mentality. It just seems to me incredibly cruel, and I think the public have reacted in that way to it. I think that the writers thought they were writing a heartwarming story.
Yeah.
And then people have reacted going, that's just horrible. You've got someone with dementia here making a mistake.
I guess it shows the echo chamber in some places, perhaps this writer's room at the BBC.
I think it is conceivably an interesting storyline to explore. Does dementia rob you of your ability to remember that you were willing to tell polite lies about your granddad? or do you literally forget that it had ever happened? I mean, that's the question. But it does feel like they shoehorn these things in. There is there's an X account called Nutmeg something or other that monitors BBC content for this all the time. So I've seen these scenes, and they are really annoying. There is never any pushback against it at all, never any exploration of the possibility that the trans granddaughter could herself be caught up in a narcissistic exercise that's robbing her of the chance to empathise with a dying relative.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
There we go. Well, we've got the final section next. Stay with us for violence between America and Canada, why children are suffering from climate anxiety, and there's bad news for nudes. This is Headliners, only on GB News.
Nudes aloots.
You're looking happy.
Well, the forecast looks good.
So you've sorted the travel insurance then?
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Hello there. We've got rain for Madeira over the next 24 hours, some stronger winds too, but much of the central Med will be dry with some sunny spells. We can see for Monday outbreaks of rain, strong winds, 17 Celsius Madeira. The Canary Islands generally dry, and much of western and central parts of the Mediterranean seeing some spells of sunshine. Unsettled further east towards Greece and across to Cyprus. Thunderstorms, outbreaks of showery rain. The outlook though is for plenty of sunny spells, temperatures in the high teens to low 20s.
Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, though.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Sunday with Michael Portillo from 11, only on GB News.
Inside Number 9, stage/fight. So Inside Number 9, massive cult BBC 2 show. One half of the League of Gentlemen, so Steve Pemberton, Reece Shearsmith, they are the kind of creative geniuses behind all those sorts of shows. So it's weird, wonderful, macabre, sort of very, very black comedy, and this is their kind of farewell thank you to fans. It is such a niche show and such an extraordinary success already ticket-wise. It's virtually sold out. We're hoping it's going to actually extend. Stunning. So basically, it's 2 or 3 of their episodes mashed together. I haven't seen the show. Absolutely fine. So for me, it was actually just a revelation. Other friends have seen the shows and they were just ecstatically happy. The only new bit is an opening segment of about 10 minutes when the stage pulls back and we see seats facing up with a few people dotted around. It's the most fantastic play on terrible behaviour in theatre audiences. With one man getting increasingly annoyed and basically doing the things that we've possibly thought about but would never do, and all the misbehaviours meet gruesome ends. So don't try this at home. But, you know, certainly a couple of times you've been like, "Ugh." The rest of the show, the first half is based on Bernie Clifton's Dressing Room. It's 2 old-time comedians reunited, very melancholy. Second half is a very gothic-y kind of Grand Guignol, sort of schlocky horror, eyeballs coming out of the face, paintings moving, and then there's a show within rehearsals. There's a ghost, brilliant riffs on everything that's been going on in the West End, handheld camera scenes, which they're mocking, and pop stars cranked into major theatre productions.
I'm liking some of the satire you're describing here.
It's so much fun.
GB News, the People's Channel.
I'm Christopher Hope. From pop stars to politicians, I'll interview anybody in a pub who's got a political opinion. Join me every Friday on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube or gbnews.com, or wherever you get your podcasts. This is GB News, the People's Channel.
This is Britain's Newsroom, where your voice matters.
It's just astonishing. With expert analysis and honest opinion, we don't just keep you informed.
We bring you unique perspectives you won't see anywhere else.
Can't argue with any of that. When the news happens, it happens here.
On Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 a.m.
Only on GB News.
Welcome back to Headliners. We've got the Daily Mail now, and MAGA fans are happy about America pulling out of Ukraine, and it sounds like they wish Elon Musk had done the same thing.
Very good. MAGA, Make America Great Again. MAGA influencers viciously slam Elon Musk's baby mama. That should be in inverted commas too, I feel. Ashley St Clair's liberal behaviour. So, Ashley St Clair, I don't know her full backstory, but she has over 1 million followers on X. She is considered to be a sort of right-wing commentator, and I believe is what was known as an e-girl, which is sort of OnlyFans adjacent or something like that.
Something like that.
Anyway, she has taken to X to confess that she has given birth to Musk's child, to his son, 5 months ago, and tabloids apparently were threatening to expose this, so she's gone public with the news herself.
Yeah.
Is it true? Who knows? Musk's only response so far has been not to her, but to Milo, who is, of course, the gay conservative who was banned for a while, whose Twitter handle is Nero, and who is a great provocateur, very funny. And he made some scandalous references to Ashley St Clair's past, and Musk went, whoa, as in to a horse. So that's his only comment so far. But it is quite funny as a general phenomenon that Musk seems to father children all over the place with all kinds of women, including a large number through IVF, which is unusual when you're a libertine, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know, we know that certain other high-ranking political figures in the UK have fathered lots of children on unmarried mothers. But usually it's done through lack of protection rather than a series of expensive interventions.
How does he have the time? This guy's running all kinds of companies and space travel and Doge at the moment and his car companies and X, of course, which he's on every 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And he's still having time to have secret babies. I think it's really impressive.
And he gives them interesting names. I saw in the paper that his new child is called Unnamed Baby. Which is actually the most normal name he's given a child. We've got the Times now, and are work-from-home parents setting a bad example for their kids, Kiri?
Yes, they are. Work from home parents make children think school is optional, and this is apparently an after effect of the lockdown and the fact that we have so many parents working from home, and then children attendance rates in school are right down. And in the past, you say to them, you have to go to school, and they're like, well, you don't go to work.
Yeah.
So, parents aren't setting any kind of examples, so why should they bother? Lockdown has got a lot to answer for. I think I was saying at the time, we're going to be seeing the repercussions of lockdown for years and trying to figure out what they all are. But I'm going to sound old-fashioned here because I was fashioned in old times. And I come all the way from last century, you know. And I kind of think the school environment is important. For all its bullying, its dodgy teachers and its daily humiliations, I think the having to be around other children of your age, your peers, and having to deal with all these different forces is a really important part of preparing children for life. And I think that's why the homeschooling probably isn't a great idea.
I would go further and say the same thing applies to the office. I think most people should go in. You can have a day a week at home if you want, but maybe I would think that's roughly the correct ratio. And even then, I think you should get up at the right time and you should get properly dressed and shave and comb your hair.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of people don't do this.
This is starting to feel like a personal criticism.
I'm glad he was looking at you, not me then.
Lee.
I felt that.
OK, let's see if we can fit this one in.
My wife doesn't watch, luckily.
Move at the Telegraph now, with Canada and America settling their differences the old-fashioned way with a bit of sports hooliganism, Simon.
Yes, it is hilarious. I think it's par for the course in ice hockey, but yes, hatred of Donald Trump turns US-Canada ice hockey match into mass brawl. Canadians are, I think, furious with Donald Trump. They do feel they've been humiliated. I have a number of sort of semi-distant relatives in Canada who've been posting memes. There's one of a Canadian boy standing in front of a line of Tesla, the super trucks, whatever they're called, in the way of the Chinese tanks in Tiananmen Square. That's how they feel about it now, you know. But anyway, there was a massive fight. And, of course, they don't make any pretense about it in ice hockey. They blow the whistle and they just take their gloves off and start throwing punches at each other. And apparently, as long as they don't use the sticks, it's all basically legal. I think it's kind of like World Wrestling Federation rules or something.
It's more like a fighting sport around the outside, isn't it, really?
Yeah. But anyway, it's got feisty. It'll be interesting to see what will happen if Russia play in the final.
Well, the show is nearly over, so let's take another quick look at Monday's front pages. The Sun leads with prawn crackers. That's Starmer not funding defence, but funding prawn farms in Bangladesh. The Telegraph has Starmer, I'm ready to put troops in Ukraine, and some prawn sandwiches. The Independent has house building plan by Labour unachievable. The Guardian has talks lay bare transatlantic rift over war in Ukraine. The Metro has Putin's war of fire and ice, and the Daily Star has Here Comes the Sun. And that's it for tonight's show. Thank you to my guests Simon and Carey. Josh Howie will be back tomorrow night at 11 p.m, joined by Simon and Adam Kumas. And if you're watching the 5 a.m. repeat, then stay tuned for breakfast, and I'll see you next Friday, hopefully. Goodbye.
There will be a light breeze in the morning, leading to a warm front. Boxed heat pumps, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Good evening. Welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. It is going to be largely dry on Monday. Still chilly out there, but it will be turning milder as we head midweek. So taking a look at the bigger picture then, we're still in this battleground with higher pressure to the east, low pressure towards the west, driving some south and southeasterly winds. But through this evening and overnight, we have a band of rain across Northern Ireland that will move its way north and eastwards, so affecting parts of western Scotland and southern Scotland later to bring the risk of some hill snow. Elsewhere across much of England and Wales, largely dry, often cloudy, but there will be some clear spells, and that's where we could see a touch of frost developing to start Monday morning. But to start Monday morning across much of Scotland actually is a largely dry start out there. We'll even see some sunshine across northern parts of Scotland to start the day, but across Orkney there are some showers moving through. Out towards the west, that's where we have some showery outbreaks of rain that could turn wintry over the hills. Across Northern Ireland, cloudy to start the day, and across much of England and Wales, but there are some brighter breaks developing, especially across the southeast of England through Monday morning. So as we head through the day then, we should see some glimmers of sunshine coming into southeastern parts of England through the day, often cloudy out towards the west, with still a feed of showers across parts of Orkney before more persistent rain comes into Northern Ireland later on in the day. Otherwise, it is still chilly out there, especially in the east underneath the cloud, but out towards the west, temperatures up to 8 or 10 degrees. So through Tuesday morning, this band of rain will continue to push its way north and eastwards across Scotland, could fall as freezing rain and snow, so do take care first thing. That then clears its way through, and across much of England and Wales, it's largely dry and fine. Wednesday, we'll see some outbreaks of rain, but on Thursday, temperatures will be climbing up to 13 to even 15 degrees. Bye-bye.
We can expect clear skies, leading to a light and warm day ahead. Lovely. Boxed Solar, sponsors of weather on GB News.
We're giving you not one, but 2 chances to win this month, with 2 prize bundles that include an incredible £10,000 in tax-free cash. But that's not all. You'll also get a brand new iPhone 16 and a £500 shopping voucher to spend at your favourite store. So why not be extra lucky this month? For another chance to win, text cash to 63232. One entry costs £2 plus 1 standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63232. 5 entries cost £5 plus 1 standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start from just £2. Call 0903 681 3232. Calls cost £2 plus your network access charge, or post your name and number to GB11 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 6 p.m. on the 7th of March. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Join me, Camilla Tominey, for a frank and honest discussion with those in power that cuts through the spin and gets to the heart of the issues shaping our nation.
You haven't confirmed that you want to stand as leader, but you haven't ruled it out either.
This report basically says that he's not fit to stand trial. Is he indecisive? Incompetent?
I deliver the dose of reality Westminster needs. That's the Camilla Tominey Show at 9:30 every Sunday on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more. Whether it's breaking royal news, Will, please bring us up to date, or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
Because
the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Good evening, this is Free Speech Nation with me, Josh Howie. On the show tonight, is JD Vance right that